This is a new day. And that's how we want to wake up, not only every single morning to the best of our ability, but that's a part of the waking up process period. Coming to an understanding that, as I shared in the earlier way of meditation and service, that we're waking up to the vibrational frequency embedded within us saying, behold, I make all things new. Becoming keenly aware that we've been imprinted by the world, we've been imprinted by conversations, circumstances, situations from time to time, and oftentimes we're entering into the world with the imprint leading the way rather than the presence of God as the activity of our awareness leading the way. So we come into sacred service such as this. We come into the way of meditation service. We come into our daily spiritual practice in order for the imprint to not lead the way. So that which is untouched by time and experience, that which is untouched by people's opinions, points of view, that which is untouched by the worldly news can begin to come forth as the activity of our awareness and anchor itself on the earth plane. That which is in the higher planes of existence, hearing, behold, I make all things new. So it is in that awareness that we hear our theme for this particular month, which is when losing is really winning, the art of letting go. When losing is really winning. And so when we take that in somewhere within us, we know that that's the truth of our being. We know that 100% of all spiritual growth, development, and unfoldment is the letting go of something, the letting go of a perception of separation. The letting go of a sense of foreboding about the future, a letting go of any self-loathing, any lack of self-love and appreciation for ourselves, a letting go of places within us where we have not forgiven past iterations of ourselves, letting go of any sense of polarity that we have created and division we have created in the world. We are here to let go so that which is untouched by time and experience, that which is really within us, can begin to reveal itself according to our unique pattern. So when we hear we're losing is really winning, we think about perhaps the individuals who lose hanging out with their friends for a while in order to go develop a level of mastery around a skill or something. You hear the Olympics have just culminated a few weeks ago, and you hear the stories of these individuals who had to let go of hanging out with their friends, let go of certain habits that they had in order to dive deep into the awareness of building up their mental body, emotional body, and physical bodies in order to have the level of endurance and skill in order to make the Olympic team in the first place, and then perhaps to go on to medal in that particular experience that they were in. You hear about individuals who give up hanging around their gossipy friends to be alone, that they can dive deep into the awareness of the wonders of the limitless universe. As I'm saying that right now, I'm hearing Thomas Troward say, in order to glean the fundamentals of the universe, in order to come into harmony with the I'm making, this is in substance here, it's not the exact quote, but in order to come into the wonder of the limitless universe, you must do two things. You must realize you're at the center of it, at the same time withdraw all thinking that you can contribute anything to its efficiency. And so in order to come into that, we're letting go of mediocrity to hold hands with that which is of excellence. So when losing is really winning, we're taking the time to let go of the lesser for the greater. This is what a dimension of what Jesus the Christ meant when he said that those that will save their life will lose it. But if you lose your life for my sake, you will find the eternal life. If you lose your over-identification with seeing life through your woundedness, if you lose your identification with the fears and the doubts and the worries that run you, if you lose your identification with just the external personality construct for my sake, for the sake of the Christ's presence, you will win. Win, 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 win. Forget everything else. Win, 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 win. And many of you know where that's from. That's J. Rock, but he didn't use the word forget. But today we're just cleaning it up a little bit. And so when losing is really winning, you are sacrificing sacrificing that which you are losing, making it sacred, so that you can come into the frequency and the vibration of you being a greater expression of who and what you really are. So when we hear Paul talking about perhaps the dying daily concept of life, you're letting go and dying daily to perceptions that no longer serve you. You're dying daily and letting go of opinions that other people have of you. You're dying daily to letting go of your opinion of what other people may be having an opinions about you. You're letting go of all of that. This is a daily practice, mind you, because there's an art of letting go. There is an art of letting go. First of all, there's the letting go of the things that I have just described. You're letting go of the habit of unhappiness. You're letting go of the habit of fear. And keep in mind that many of the ways by which we experience the world is through mental habit. You know, the old statement that all of us are created basically the same, but what separates us is our habit, primarily our mental habits. And so we're learning to let go of our habit of fear. We're learning to let go of our habit of worry. We're learning to let go of our habit of unhappiness. And as we're letting go of that, which comes through, of course, affirmative prayer and meditation, sacred study, high fellowship, and etc., we're letting go to something. You know, I was having a meeting with one of our ministers, Reverend Cindy Ambrise, this week, and we were discussing the upcoming class Roots. And we were entered into the conversation about Jesus, the Christ, and his relationship with the Essenes. And we were talking about the fact that in the Essene practice, there was a practice, that joy was a spiritual practice. And that those that practice this kind of a joy, they would be noticed by people on the streets because they had not contracted their energy based on external circumstances. So letting go means letting go to the joy. And how does that work? It means that you consider something that brings you joy, or you consider something that you want that if you get it may bring you joy. But instead of assigning the joy in the future, you begin to feel into the sense of joy now, even before the circumstance changes, even before the thing happens. That's a practicing of joy. You begin to center yourself in that particular joy until there's a feeling tone about it, until you're able to walk in that dynamic. This is practice, mind you, until you're able to walk in that dynamic. So you're actually letting yourself go to the joy. You're letting yourself go into that awareness. You also begin to be aware that you can let yourself go, let complaining go, and let yourself go to a description of the world you want to live in. This is another aspect of letting go. And so you know that complaining is habitual. We all have that to a limited or greater degree about something here or there. And so you begin to describe the world you want to live in, and you begin to carry the feeling tone of that particular world because the eyes can't see what the mind does not know. That's an impossibility. Your eyes can't see it. The mind doesn't know it. That's called paradigm blindness. So unless you eliminate the spiritual astigmatism, the paradigm blindness, by feeling and describing the world you want to live in, by feeling and describing the joy that is here at the depth of your being, your eyes will never see it because you're living in a paradigm that's too small for you to see. But interestingly enough, the moment you begin to have a letting go practice to joy, and notwithstanding the fact that there are terrible things happening on the planet, letting yourself go to the description of the world you want to live in, thus evoking the law that states you do not describe what you see what you describe. That is a sacred law. And so as you begin to describe that, then the eyes will begin to see what the mind is knowing. You begin to see possibilities and opportunities. You begin to see ways where there appears to be no ways. You begin to see it because internally you are activating it within you. There is an art of letting go. When losing is really winning. When losing the small perception of yourself And the small perception of life is really winning, win, 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 win. Forget everything else. Win, 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 win. Activate that into that awareness. And then you will discover and you'll remember, particularly in your soulful spiritual practices, you'll begin to remember that you volunteered to be here. In the esoteric teachings of the ages, it is often talked about the fact that particularly after the 1940s, when America incurred tremendous karmic debt by dropping a bomb on Japan, on Nagasaki, and that in the esoteric teachings, it talks about the fact that that particular bomb was not supposed to be even incurred in this particular timeline in terms of the evolution of human consciousness, and human curiosity and human immaturity developed it as a weapon instead of as an instrument for good. But it created a whole lot of karmic debt for America when they did that. But nevertheless, there was an inner call for beings to arrive on the planet, volunteers, mind you, to begin to carry a different frequency on the planet. And so like 3 different kinds of beings arrived. And this is a lot to bring into this discussion, but I'll just break it down like this. And that the angelic realm, the ancestral realm, cannot intervene unless you ask for help. And they cannot, there's a non-participation in the unfolding of human consciousness. And so what happened is beings from around that did not have the karma of the world, of the United States, of the planet Earth, incarnated in order to bring about a different frequency from within rather than from without. So one group of people arrived, and they were the people that came in the 40s and 50s to a degree, and they became more activist-minded, saying things like no more war, no more bring about peace on the planet. It was a frequency. Then another wave of individuals emerged, and this wave of individuals came with a state of being, very sensitive beings. And their main attribute to the planet is a state of being, maintaining a level of vibrational efficiency, vibrational of peace and of love and of harmony, and they don't stand out. They're not necessarily celebrities. They have families or not have families, and they're able to carry a state of being, and it looks like they may not be doing much, but they're holding a frequency, you see, for the next level of evolution to occur. And then there's a next group of people that arrived on the planet, and these beings were called the hope of the world, and they came not only with the state of being, but they came with the vibration of being a creator. Creativity runs through them. And so if you're listening to Agape for any length of time, you are probably an individual who has volunteered to come to the planet to bring about your gifts, talents, and capacities, not to get anything from the world necessarily, but you've arrived here as a volunteer to hold the frequency of the next stage of unfoldment to happen on the planet. Some of you may recognize yourself as being very sensitive to the things that go on the planet. It hurts your soul. It hurts your heart to a degree. Some of you may recognize yourself as an individual that can hold a state of consciousness regardless of what's happening around you. Some of you are recognizing yourself as being in the fray, as creating something new for the unfoldment of the planet, or a combination of all 3 that I've just described. But you are a volunteer. Now you have to show up. You have to suit up and show up. You have to wake up and show up. You have to grow up and show up. And in this growing up and showing up and maturing, you're learning to hold the frequency of the world that you want to live in, as I've just described. You're learning to hold the frequency of the joy and the love, as I have described, and not capitulating yourself to what the world looks like at any particular moment, because your mind is being worked upon by your spiritual practice, so your ability to see is expanding, and so you begin to notice with your eyes, even peripherally, that there is something happening that is beyond what the corporate media will bring to you on a daily basis. There's something else that's emerging. And there's a good news about the something else that is emerging. And then you will find your place as a disruptor of the normalization of hate, the normalization of bigotry, the normalization of fear, the normalization of homophobia, the normalization of greed, the normalization of might makes right, the normalization of fear-mongering. You will be a spiritual disruptor of those particular limited, immature points of view. And by means of your very presence and the conversations that you are having, you disrupt and bring about the possibilities of the next great emergence of good on the planet. Because now, what your mind knows your eyes can see, what your mind knows your heart can feel, the new becomes more real to you, the eternal new. Behold, I make all things new. This is real, I'm trying to tell you. This is not the figment of the imagination of mystics of the ages. This is real life. This is the life of God, of which individuals have written volumes about and created theologies about, and many individuals have written these things without even having a direct encounter with the presence of God. You see, we're talking about doing our spiritual work so well, we have a joyful encounter on a regular basis, you see. And so we look out upon the world, earthquakes happening. We know scientifically now that the sunspots, that the sun heats up, cools down, it affects the planet. Earth changes take place. Earthquake is not personal. When in fact, individuals' houses are destroyed, individuals make their transition. It's not a personal thing from God. It's the shifting of the earth. We look at hurricanes. We know scientifically pretty much that many hurricanes are the way that the equator cools itself. That when it gets too hot, it sweats and it creates hurricanes. The same way if you run around the block, if you don't sweat, you could have an issue. You sweat a little bit, it creates little hurricanes and tornadoes on your body, so that like a radiator, you cool yourself down, you see? And so you look upon the world and you see the hate and the greed and the polarization happening. This is a part of the human condition of individuals who have not matured enough to be able to go to the next level of compassion and love. And so our participation in that is first introspection. You see, where am I heating up the world? Where are my unresolved issues around resentment, animosity, unforgiveness, polarization being right? It's creating a fierce heating up in the world. And creating the hurricanes of wonderful, not wonderful, but the malignant stagnation in the world. Where am I participating in the fires that are taking place in the world? Where is there a cauldron of fire within me? Now, of course, from a non-personal level, when there's a forest fire, that's not good for people, but it's good for the forest. You see, the forest has to do that every now and then in order to replenish itself and to create the mulch and everything necessary to have new life. But individuals take it personally. However, within us, there may be a cauldron of fire of unresolved woundedness that we project onto the world and onto other people, you see. And we have to go in and deal with that, you see, through our introspection first. Introspection is an embracing of the inner earthquakes that are taking place. The introspection deals with the inner hurricanes. The introspection deals with the unresolved issues of hate and projection and unforgiveness and resentment and animosity until there is a release and a relief, not guilt and shame at all. Remember, as I said a few weeks ago, as the revelation occurred to me that when Master Teacher said, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do, he was not merely including the people outside of himself or anybody that's slinging mud and arrows at you and trying to do something physically to you or mentally or emotionally or gossiping, whatever the case may be. I took that on also meaning that we are forgiving the past iterations of ourselves. that from the time we were born up to the present moment, we've made faux pas. We made mistakes. We said things we shouldn't have said. We should have said things that we didn't say. All of those are different iterations of ourselves on the path to maturity, and that we have to say, Father, Mother, God, forgive them, for they didn't know what they were doing at the time. So that we can set ourselves free in this moment, not carry the burden of past mistakes. Mistake. We had a miss, we get to take it over. You see, until behold, everything is made new. You see, and what I'm saying to you is an inspiration for spiritual practice, you see. And so as this occurs, we begin to be the living filament, the inner light bulbs that carry the light of the world. You are the light of the world, you see. You are the light of the world. You are a volunteer. You volunteered to be here, but you got to grow up. You got to suit up. You got to show up in a big way. And then you're able to hold the world in a different way, you see. The world needs your expanded consciousness. The world does not need your opinion about anything. The world does not need any more information that you have unless it's backed by embodiment and transformation in spiritual practice. The world needs individuals who are embodying the information, practicing the information, living it. Even if they're not saying a word, you may be one of those individuals that just by your state of being is making a big difference on the planet. You may not have the ability or the desire to speak or to write books or anything like that. Just your being walks into a room and wonderful things occur. Just your being walks into a room, people say, oh, she sure feels peaceful. Or he feels different. I don't know what it is. You might be one of those beings, you see. Or you might be one of those beings that have a level of being, but you're on the verge of creating something, being creative for the next stage of human evolution. But what we want to do, we want to expand our awareness, and we want to embrace all that is happening on the planet in a very powerful way, you see. I invite you in this instant right now to just stop and close your outer eyes. And when we hear the old spiritual, God has the whole world in his hands, we want to just take this opportunity in this moment. I want you to think of a moment in your life where you had the privilege of having an activated, not merely a transactional, not merely a belief system, but an activated love and compassion for anyone on the planet. Friend, family member, pet, whatever. Just come into the feeling tone of an activated compassion. Let's combine that with an activated kindness. Let's combine that with an activated love ethic, a love. Compassion, which is a very high form of love. It's one of the highest forms of love. There's the iteration of sympathy, which says, I know how you feel. There's the iteration of empathy that says, I'll feel for you. Then there's the highest form of that, which is compassion, which is, how can I serve to alleviate suffering? I'm not going to necessarily get into the emotional mud with you, but I'm definitely going to ask, how can I serve? How can I alleviate suffering? So feel into the compassion, the love. Now notice that every time you take a breath, this feeling tone of love and compassion and kindness is expanding. You're starting off with striking the mystic chord of memory of a moment that you encountered compassion and kindness and love in your life. But now you're not just leaning on that particular event. You're allowing the love, the compassion, the kindness to be the activity of your awareness. With every breath we take one now, take a deep one. Release. Expansion, love, compassion, kindness. And then we embrace planet Earth. Oh, Haiti's included in this. Afghanistan is included in this. Louisiana is included in this. Where all those fires are going on is included in this. Wars and rumors of wars are included in this. Wherever there's degradation or oppression is included in this. And like a brooding mother, we embrace the world, not with opinion. We embrace the world as it is seen by many, with a love, a compassion, and a kindness. Thus the mind is opened up to new possibilities. The eyes can't see what the mind doesn't know. The mind is opening up to new possibilities. We're bringing to the planet right now a love, a compassion, and a kindness. And it's becoming stronger and stronger with every breath that we take. Stronger and stronger with every breath that we take. And we ask from the depths of our being, how can I serve? What is my place as a disruptor of stagnation, negativity, hate, greed, malice, domination, manipulation, and control? What is my place? What is my place? Not what someone else's place is, but what is my place as not only a disruptor of this limited energy or the limited use of the law? What is my place as a disruptor and a harbinger of love, compassion, and kindness? How does my compassion look like in the world? Everyone's gift and talent and skill is not going to be the same. We are distinct units of infinite potential. Volunteer to be here. Some of you, and we have practitioners like this, some of you hold a very high state of consciousness. We think about people like Lissa Sprinkles. We think about people like Reverend Kathy McNamara. Individuals that hold the state, unwavering state. You may be an individual that's birthing ideas, catching the ideas from the infinite and bringing them into expression. Maybe individuals that are more of an activist inclined, like really describing great possibilities as you are denouncing degradation and oppression, or a combination of all three. You say, what is my role? Where is my place? You're jogging the mystic cord of memory, reminding you that you volunteered to be here. You didn't, this is not an accidental birth, regardless of what your parents may have told you. No. Some would say that like the baby boomers are, whenever there's a large group of people that are being born, it's because there was a war or a famine, and so that was nature's way of bringing more life on the planet. But it could also be that something happened and a wave of volunteers showed up to work from the inside out rather than the outside in. And if you're here, if you're in this frequency of Agape, you've probably volunteered to bring something. Ask in terms of love, in terms of compassion, in terms of kindness, and you think about all the things happening on the planet. The suffering, the death, many deaths, I'm speaking of premature. Number one killer in America are heart attacks. Number two killer in America is cancer. Then there's doctors' malfeasance or mistakes, obesity, diabetes, COVID. Deaths, fire, earthquakes, hurricanes. All this, We see this every day. And so we ask ourselves, what? We bring about a depth of compassion for all beings that are suffering right now with loss. All beings that are suffering with loss or are dying of 1,000 deaths because they're in fear. That's why Shakespeare said that oftentimes a coward dies 1,000 deaths. We don't mean that pejoratively. Individuals who are in fear oftentimes are dying over and over and over again before an event even happens. We want deep compassion for people who have developed a habit of fear, a habit of worry. And so we ask ourselves again, what is my role? What gift am I bringing to the world? What skillful means am I developing? What talent is emerging within me that can allow me to be a disruptor of the old and a harbinger of the new? What is it? Now, begin internally to describe the world you want to live in. Start with qualities: peace, beauty, love, abundance, joy, generosity, creativity. Describe the world you want to live in. Feel it. You describe. You see what you describe. Not merely describe what you see. You see. The eyes, the spiritual stigmatism will be healed, and you'll begin to see what you're describing. I was blind, but now I see. I was lost in the world, but now I'm found in my own heart. I'm losing limitation, winning in expansion. I'm losing the fear and the doubt and the worry. I'm winning in faith and conviction. Win, 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 win. Forget everything else. Win, win, win. Wonderful, infinite, new, win. Now hold that space, and you'll be guided by your superconscious, the higher self, into conversation and action. Remember, when two or more are gathered in the name and the nature of that which is real, name and nature of the Christ, it's in the midst of you. When the conscious mind and the subconscious mind or the subjective mind agree, superconscious mind takes over. And you're guided by your higher self. How to be in the world before you do in the world. So many people are out doing without a state of being. Oh, it creates confusion. Be do before you do be. You got to be do, not just a do be. Because then you'll end up smoking doobies. Laying on the couch doing nothing. Okay, I've gone into silly Michael. He shows up, I can't keep him sequestered forever. He's trying to get out. But right now, with that sense of laughter, notice how it expands you. In the name of Martin Weech in the laughter yoga, just notice that sense of laughter. The tonic chemicals started to flow. The immune system got more balanced. So we're making fun of ourselves, not making fun of anyone else, and we're not taking the stuff that's happening on the planet. We're not turning a blind eye to it, but we're bringing something as a disruptor and as a harbinger. Feel it in your bones. And as you're feeling, as you're describing the world, say, and so it is. Just say, and so that is, so it is. World without end, amen. So it is, world without end. Glory to greater glory, world without end. Glory to greater glory. Perfect unfoldment. It's happening now. It's not happening out there. It's happening inside of me. It's happening inside of we. And now you can celebrate your way home. Not frivolity, but from the harbinger consciousness. I've got to be it before I see it. I can describe it, and then I'll see it. As within, so without. So feel into that. Feel. Watch this individual dance with the Rev. Dance with Agape. Dance. D.D. Newman. All right. It's good to have like the hip thing going too. You can't just be up here. You gotta.
You are anointed. You're anointed and appointed by the Spirit of the likeness of divine and ultimate reality. As we act in that domain, we bring heaven to earth. And the Spirit of our
Who's that guy in the background? That's D.D. Newman.
Paradise. And guess what?
She's keeping it real with a capital R. I'm activating my spiritual stimulus package from within, not from without. Thank you, D.D. Newman. Now, as this song begins to play and you begin to dance, you're dancing for the people that are affected by the fires. You're dancing for the people that are affected by hurricanes. You're dancing for the people that are affected by dis-ease. You're dancing for the people that are affected by oppression and hate. All of that. You are a disruptor to that energy. You're moving into a frequency and a vibration that then will guide you into right action that's appropriate for you to be a harbinger of the beloved community. Feel this.
What you think of, what you feel now, what you know. To be real. Hey, yeah. What you think of, I think I love you. What you feel now, I think I need you. What you know, truly real. Here we go. Come on, Ebony.
Rain up. Rain up with us today.
Yes, for real now. You know that your love is my love is your love, our love is here to stay. What you think of, I think I love you. What you feel now, I said I think I need what you know, truly real. It's got to be real. What you think of, I think I love you. What you feel now, I really feel what you know, truly real. It's got to be real. And your love's for real now. You know that your love is my love is your love, our love is here to stay. What you think of, what you feel now, what you know, truly real. It's got to be real. Truly real. I think
For the people in New York, people in Jersey, people in Louisiana, people all over the world that are experiencing death, suffering. Be a disruptor of the energy. Be a harbinger of the next stage of unfolding. Bless the world. Not with the sense of foreboding, but with the sense of I'm one with life. I'm one with God. Prayer, conviction, faith. Being the energy of the answer. Being the energy of the answer. Grow up and show up, volunteers. Wake up. Remember, grow up, mature, show up, and deliver. The world needs you. But not as a fearmonger or a hater. The world needs you as an ambassador of unfolding good, even now. Oh, feel into this. Reverend Kathy Mack, come up here on the stage. I called your name earlier. I want you to join with me in prayer this morning. I want you to join with me. Close your outer eye and feel into the power and the presence and the love of God. Can I hold your hand?
Absolutely.
Feel into the power and the presence and the love of God right now. Prayer is not palliative. Prayer is transformational. I'm talking real prayer. I'm not just talking about begging. I'm not talking about beseeching. I'm talking about soulful encounter to have a realization of that which is true forever, that it may become the activity of our awareness. And so we feel into the individuals that are called to be on our prayer list. The individuals all around this globe that are going through what we would call hard times. Individuals on the planet that may be hard-hearted. Because just woundedness. We weren't born hard-hearted. Woundedness brings about greed and avarice, destruction, mayhem, oppression, totalitarianism. It's an immaturity that's unhealed. It's an infantile consciousness that hasn't grown up. We've got the antidote. Awakening. But we have to hold the space. Kathy Max, speak the word for us.
And how good it is to know that as we stand here in prayer together this day, that truly this prayer is not just here, this prayer is everywhere. What Reverend Michael has said, what he has spoken, truth, absolute truth. The divine idea in the mind of God revealing itself throughout all creation. We are here, each of us, through intention, with a purpose. And I know that together, we are awakened together, that we may be a beneficial presence, and this whole universe, this whole planet rises up in remembrance. In remembrance, it's within each of us, all of us. All of us came with a gift to deliver. The universe is conspiring on our behalf. I claim it, I know it, I'm grateful to be in this field of agreement. Everything within me says yes.
Yes!
And I invite each one to say your own sacred yes within yourself.
Yes.
We first make an agreement with God, then we make an agreement with ourselves.
Yes.
And that agreement must manifest and demonstrate. I know that for certain. I know that blesses this amazing community that is Agape, that continues to bless Reverend Michael as he continues to deliver from his relationship with the divine. And the divine vision, the wonderful purpose of this community is magnificently, powerfully, gracefully revealed. This is what I absolutely know and give thanks for. And so it is.
Feel into that.
Amen.
That's an amen. Feel into that. Victor? You felt that prayer? Hey, Jennifer, I feel you, Jennifer. Yes. We feel into the ecstatic connection with the presence. We enter into our faithful and committed conscious connection with the divine. We enter into our sacred fellowship.
Oh, yes.
We begin to see
Oh, yeah.
like we have never seen before. A world that works for the highest and best. We have to see it. We've got to describe it. We've got to describe it. Describe. We gotta describe it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sometimes you gotta write it down. You gotta interrupt your own thinking. Thinkingness. Sometimes you gotta interrupt your own thinkingness. You gotta write it down and interrupt the fear. You gotta interrupt the foreboding. You gotta interrupt the sense of separation. Describe. And you'll see it.